Hello everyone, it's episode 28, the road to Superbowl. We are approaching the end. One more division after this, that's all it takes. Now, here we are today with the Houston Texans, and this is insane team. In a perspective of last year, I was sitting here, I'm saying, everybody on the hype train, I wish you the best. Temper your expectation. There is still holes on the team that ain't necessarily going to just disappear magically just because you want to. And second year slump might be real. And here we are today, and I thought I would actually kind of have a little bit of a negative episode on Texans, given that it's compared to last year's expectations. And I'm looking at the train station and nobody is here for the hype train. And that means I'm probably actually higher on this team than you guys are, and that's kind of crazy. What this enthusiasm, at least for me, goes with the Texans is I view CJ Stroud second season as a success, unlike I would say majority of the fans outside, and we will get to that why. But I really feel like CJ Stroud is top 10 quarterback in the league. I would really like to argue to that point. If anybody has him outside of 10 and want to argue me, let's find out. And when you look at last year, yes, his production was not as good as it was in 2023, but he was dealing with so much more shit in last year than he did in 2023 that the way he played actually cemented him, for me, as an amazing starter, as a tier 2 guy. I actually upgraded him after last year because I have enough of a sample size after last year that this guy is not going to crumble. This guy is real, he's legit. And the sample size, when you combine last year and 2023, I'm not saying he was better last year than he was in 2023. For me, with the bigger of the sample size, perhaps the almost elite quarterbacking that he did in year one and very, very good one last year actually emerges to me as overall amazing, given where this guy is and given what he had to deal with last year. So, I don't know. I'm looking for you guys on, you aborted the hype train. Perhaps now you are with Jaden Daniels at Washington or Ben Johnson and Caleb at Chicago. I'm okay, so I guess I'm actually going to be overall positive for Texans fans out there or real Texans fans. Because, it seems like you have been abandoned. A lot of people jumped on the bandwagon last year and they aborted. Despite you guys won the division and won a playoff game. Twice in a row. How many teams actually can say that? 4? Something like that. And, we are entering CJ and Will Anderson's third year. And, I think that's how you kind of know bandwagon fans. They are, to me, I'm strongly against this. Everybody can do whatever they like, but this is just not my cup of tea or coffee or Pepsi. No, this is not my kind of drink. I choose a team, I support the team through bad and worse. That's me. That's how I am. Now, let's talk about Texans, shall we? Okay, one more thing about the disrespect that Texans, or actually some Texans get, or I have no idea who does ratings with the Madden, but I saw Texans ratings and I'm who was watching them last year? What are we talking? So first one is 91 for Joe Mixon. That's too high. I like Joe. I really like Joe Mixon. I think I might have him lower grade here. But to me, 85, 86 at best. Great player, not an elite guy. And him having 91, I'm not necessarily how Madden ranks injuries because he is injury prone. So if that has some detrimental effect in there, okay, perhaps, but still not 91. Absolutely, he should be 85 with injury proneness, not 95 and 91, and perhaps no like that. And the comparison is Nico Collins, who is 89. There is no universe, no one, you can try, but, let's argue. I say there is no universe in which right now Nico Collins is worse wide receiver than Joe Mixon is as running back. No. Nico Collins is an elite player, top 7 to 8 guy in the league. Joe Mixon is perhaps banging on the top 10, but even there, like, in terms of raw rankings, yeah, like, Nico Collins is just a better player. And the second is CJ Stroud is 81. And I'm like, what are you freaking smoking, guys? CJ Stroud is 81. 81. And I mean, yes, Madden does not like young players. Let's face it. And like, it's part of it is like they have some baked potential. So you don't want young guys to all like reach up 90s way too soon and kind of broke the game when you play franchise mode for 2 or 3 years. Perhaps you can fix franchise mode Madden, so I can buy you actually, because like last 2 years I did not enjoy franchise mode as a GM because I don't like to necessarily play the game. I like to play the franchise mode or like to manage the franchise, and it's shit game. Not to mention the rankings. Like overall the game experience is just weird. Like a lot of rankings are way too high, and it's like, okay, my team is all 90s, the team is all 80s, and it just kind of doesn't matter. So whatever. Now back to the point. So CJ Stroud is 81, which is ridiculously low. Like at worst he should be 85. And Trent Brown, the dude that has played like 2,000 snaps across last 5 years, and when he's on the field, he's a good player. Good player. He's 85. 85. What are we smoking? Seriously, what? Like, if I see this as like the best optic I can, and like I ignore CJ Stroud's ranking, like 78, perhaps. But 85 for Trent Brown, I'm like, oh my god, that's yeah. Like I had some fun and some heart attacks when I saw rankings for the Texans. But okay, this is not Madden. Fortunately, you get, I would say, and I hope, some more accurate rankings. I have the freedom of, I don't have to sell these rankings. They do. So part of the why the rankings are as they are, like they need to sell the game. So that's part of it. I'm not like necessarily against guys from Madden, but some of the rankings, and like at this point, like I don't think they are necessarily like are connected with selling the game, are just ridiculous in comparison in my eyes. Now let's go Texans. If you could leave a second and hit a comment, hit a like, subscribe, it would be very much appreciated. With that being said, this was way too long of welcome for you. Let's talk Texans ball. Let's talk the draft. So they started the draft by not drafting. They traded away with the Giants. I think really, really nice. They got 2 third-round picks to move like 8 spots in the from the back end of the first round to prime of the second, of like very, very early second. They got this year third, next year third. Really like this. And when you combine this with getting Jalen Wiggins, it's a prime value. It almost deserves A+. I just ended up in A. Like I'm not super high on Jalen as some other guys are there, but prime value to me. I really, really like this. And what I appreciate not the most about this pick, because Jaden Higgins is very, very nice fit here and great player and potentially, backup, not a backup, like number 2 behind Nico Collins for this team. But what I appreciated about this was realization, well, we have CJ Stroud, we want to throw the ball a lot, and, as much as we love Tank Dell, there were questions about his durability before entering the draft, obviously with his tight frame. And I don't know if it's worse or better that like none of those 2 injuries that he unfortunately suffered were like hard hits from safeties over midfield part of the field, where it's like that's where you kind of expect him to be almost like broken half, like Cam Chancellor to Vernon Davis, if Vernon Davis was like 50 pounds lighter. Imagine that, like the impact like this hit would have on Tank Dell. Neither of these injuries were because of this, and I don't know if it's better or worse, because like on one case, it's better because he's not broken in this way. On the other, like, does it mean that he's even less durable than we thought, like that his body is just not made up, like similar to like Christian Watson, like I don't know. we will see. I love Tangdale. When he's on the field, I love him as a person. Like, he's a great player, great guy, and I just fucking hate that this happened to him again. But at this point, can you count on Tangdale as Texans? You can't. And they were honest with each other, and because of that, they really invested in the group. Not only Jaden Higgins, but also Jalen Noel. You know, guys both from Iowa really could fit together, real nice connections, and making this group, if Tank is back, special, great. But if not, we are absolutely good. Great thinking, love it, and hate it at the same time because, you know, it sucks for Tank. Let's hope that perhaps this is more in line with like Jonathan Brooks or TyJay Spears. Guys that, you know, in Jonathan Brooks' case, which could be for Tangdale, maybe we are not rushing you back. Let's just recover as best as you can. And perhaps like, okay, if you can be there for December, great, we will use you, and that's it for the season. But we are not rushing you. There is no pressure on you. Just recover as best as you can, and year 4, we will see what we get. Or it's the like TyJay Spears approach, or like both of it, in which it's like, okay, we know TyJay Spears cannot get more than, 1,500 carries in the NFL because like his knees won't take it. So we bring Tony Pollard as a Titans to go like 70-30 split, in which like TyJay Spears gets 300, 400 snaps in the year, okay, like 150 touches, 100 touches, something like that, and he can actually play several seasons in the NFL like this. So maybe this is also approach with Tangdale. So he's not going to be 3-down receiver, but 300, 400 snaps each year. A guy that, you know, is going to be your secret weapon. Then you unload in the best situations that you need him out there. But you will save him. Like, you will treat him as rotational option, not because of his quality, but because of his durability. I think it's part of both of these worlds is kind of the best projection for Tangdale, like longer term career, because long term career is probably impossible at this point. I would like to be wrong. I totally would. I wish him nothing but the best, truly. But that's how I feel about his future. And you know, if they think like this, it's amazing. Like both for Tangdale, because I really feel like that he could earn some decent money. He's not going to be just rookie contract and over because his body just gave up. That's care of his longevity, but at the same time, I think it's very lethal approach for your offense. So I like this thinking. I like this drafting super, super well. Great job, Texans. And yeah, really nice thing. Now with Ayrton and R3, was it early? Yes. Did they absolutely needed to do this? Hell yes. I mean, letting Laramie Tunsil go in what was my one of the bottom 5 least favorite moves that any front office made in this in this summer or like in the spring. Yes. I don't understand letting Laramie Tunsil go. Like, your line was already shit show. Now it's much more of a shit show, but we will get to that. Some reports about locker room, I don't know, man. It's always kind of weird when they all emerge after the guy was there. Like, is it coping? Is it whatever? But back to Ayrton Arcery, like, very nice prospect. Is he ready to play from week 1? Not necessarily. Might he be forced to? Quite likely, because the offensive line is really, really something. We will get to that. So, solid pick, early, but absolute freaking need for this team. They needed to invest, and I feel like they probably were thinking about taking him 34. I would not put it past them, but when Jaden Higgins was actually available, which I'm not necessarily certain that they counted on, when they drafted away from that spot with the Giants, I feel like that they could have taken Higgins out there, but they were like, okay, we are giving up on that, but loading up on picks because we need some ammunition for this and next year. And then he like fell into his lap. Like, okay, we have to do it, and let's hope that some of the tackles will still be there 48. And actually, for what it's worth, late second, early third, take him mid-second when it's such a need for you and you actually recouped some of the picks, absolutely fine by me. Now, day 3 for me, or like even late day 2 pick in Jalen Smith, I was not a huge fan. Jalen Smith, to me, it's like there is two problems for me. One, it was early, and two, where are you going to play him? Because you just signed Jalen Petrie for a long-term extension, absolutely justifiably so. But that's kind of the position that I would say Jalen Smith could be like really going for. And if you want to play him outside and kind of be a backup to Kamari Lassiter, I'm not like super certain about that. And maybe you can get away with it when on the other side you have Derek Stingley and you can get Jalen Smith all the safety help that you can, because Derek Stingley can play on the island and, you know, good luck still. But if somehow Derek Stingley went down, I'm like, this is not a backup. Like, obviously, you cannot replace Derek Stingley. That's one of the top 5 corners in the league, easy. But Jalen Smith, yeah, I do have my doubts, and especially like I feel like there were better corners. Perhaps not this late. Like there was run on some of the falls, like Sean Revel, Trey Amos, and guys like that. So could they have been more aggressive, perhaps, and you know come back to? I mean, how? Like let me check on this. Could they have spent perhaps that third round next year to come back and get? Okay. So where was the last guy I really liked? Shannon Revel 76. So I mean, and especially like you are not needing this guy because he would be on the bench. So yeah, to me, you are drafting a backup, and I feel like Jalen Smith is backup to a position that you kind of have in really, really good hands. And in terms of outside corner, you are leaving yourself very, very vulnerable. So I was not a huge fan of this pick. But I understand like not wanting to trade up even for someone like Shavon Revel, because what is your plan of playing him? Like he's too good to just be a backup. So I don't know, like not a huge fan. The same with Woody Marks, just too early for me. I feel like there were better running backs on. There is definitely a plan to use him as kind of a like pass catching specialist in a way, but like is it too early to draft a guy for this, especially when I think Joe Mixon can kind of do that? I don't know, like this was not like my super favorite pick, but not necessarily something that you just, you know, like cannot do, but whatever, you know. So overall, love the strategy for day 1, day 2. Low-key hate the Jalen Smith pick. Nothing really stands out for me in day 3. I think they got a little bit lucky. They both, Jaden Higgins and Nursery, was there because with how good Jaden Higgins is and with how valuable the O-line position was, especially in this draft, and a lot of guys went much earlier than perhaps I would like them to in terms of value. They got away with something. At the same time, you can say they navigated the draft perfectly in a way. So like a good job. But with the day 3, I'm having some difficulties. So overall, good job. Does it stand out to me like one of the best drafts in this cycle? No. Now, where does this leave this offense? Yeah, this is the offensive line, and this to me is probably like the best 5 out there, which as of right now doesn't seem like it's going to be like this. And I would say I'm even like slightly higher on some of the guys than the consensus. So where to start? Cam Robinson, he was freaking abysmal for the Vikings. He was not really good for the Jaguars. He has some pedigree. He has some better tape in previous seasons. As like a 1-year band-aid, perhaps there is something there. I understand. Yeah, I think that's kind of the best thing I can say. I understand. Yeah, you know, like I understand. Okay, now for the interior, Laken Tomlinson, as of right now, seems to be winning left guard starting spot. As a Seahawks fan, like you can survive if Laken Tomlinson is your weakest link. I would say it like this. The problem is you kind of have 5 Laken Tomlinsons, because Jared Peterson, I would say like is even slightly worse than Laken Tomlinson. Like it's not pretty. Like he can manage, and like him or Juice Cracks as one of your centers, which is like how they seem to be like playing this. This is one of the guys, or like Juice Cracks is going to be like sixth man in terms of interior of this offensive line. You should get like a solid enough play that you feel like this should not be like a huge problem every snap, but also like, is there some special potential to be something more than like, yeah, it's kind of negative on average every play. And like, again, if those guys are your weakest links, you can definitely survive with this. But if you kind of have this all across the offensive line, and there is CJ Stroud in his third year, like, yeah, let's say that there is a lot of work that needs to be done by this offensive coaching and scheming and CJ Stroud to not let this offensive line derail their season, because there is potential to do so, like a huge, huge one. And not to mention like the amount of hits that CJ Stroud is going to take kind of unnecessarily because of them, that could, result in something worse than even like the lost season. Now, as of right now, it seems like they will slide Titus Howard back as a guard, which to me is kind of a shame, because I think as a tackle he's pretty good, but I understand that their other options are actually Juice Cracks there or Ed Ingram. So yeah, I get why Titus Howard is sliding as a guard. But that, like, to me, as a guard, he's just a decent starter. He's not good. Like, as a tackle, I actually think he's like a low end of a good starters. As a guard, like midway of a decent starter. So we are like slightly derailing his performance. And like, okay, so we have 4 decent starters, and then like, who is stepping as a right tackle? So there are several options. Now get to them. There is Blake Fisher and there is Ayrton Ersery. Both of these guys were second round, Fisher last year, Ersery this year. And there is competition between them, because Blake Fisher, for a guy that he was a developmental prospect that you hoped he has some solid floor, like that floor was wiped clean. It was not good. It was not good last year. It was really bad. And it seems like Ayrton Ersery, who I think long-term projects as their left tackle, actually beats him out at that spot. Like, good thing for Ersery is like he's even like a potentially a guard. So would I perhaps like, if we go with Ersery route, see Ersery as a right guard and Titus Howard as a right tackle? I think that could actually be the best combination for this offensive line, even though like I stay him as a good backup. But within a couple of weeks, yeah, I would say this is probably like their best progression. And it's like really, just trying to narrow it to somehow make it workable. And there's obviously hope that Blake Fisher can figure it out in year 2. Ersery can be whether it's future tackle or guard for this team. Ken Robinson, perhaps, last year with the change of scenery, that was too much to handle, and there was other parts of that Vikings offensive line that went off track, so perhaps there is something there. And Jared Patterson, but like there is some potential for this offensive line to be better than they are, but they start from like easily bottom 3. Like the good thing is you have bodies, we are 7 deep. They also have Jake Andrews. Like at this point, health is a huge issue for him. As a third backup center, like he's probably, I would say he's a better player than both Juice Cracks and Jared Patterson, which I would definitely say about Trent Brown. He's the team best right tackle, but both him and Jake Andrews, like injury-derailed career, and it's like, how do you use it? Are they even there? Because Trent Brown already is out, and there is a question if he's available week 1. So for what it's worth, they have like 10 guys. The problem is that two best are like super injury prone journeyman veterans that signed for kind of minimum contracts here for a reason, that like they just cannot make it through the season healthy. And the rest of it is like, with some of the guys you hope there is potential, and with some of the guys like you thought there were potential in the past, and you are kind of like, oh, okay. That's the offensive line for CJ Stroud. That's ugly. And like, if this is anything better than 27th best offensive line in football. I say great job, great development, and it would probably come from like Ursader being a hit and Blake Fisher figuring it out in year 2, or some miracle happen and Trent Brown can stay healthy and Jake Andrews remembers like what he was in 2021 prior to all of the injuries. Like, I'm not even saying like if Jake Andrews was actually healthy in 2021, like it's so hard with him. So really tough to look at offensive line. The good thing is it gets much better from here. So this was the hardest conversation. It has to happen. Let's hope that some of the young PCs can figure it out. You know, with Bobby Slovak not here anymore. Can the scheme be better? Can the calls be better to help this offensive line? Perhaps. But you know, if you look at the season and Texans are actually, it's going to be hard for them to be bad in this division and with the defense and everything that goes for them. But, you know, could this be a year that like in 2 years we look at and, you know, why CJ Stroud is on like Andrew Luck trajectory where it's like, yeah, I don't want to play anymore. This could be the offensive line that kind of makes him hate football in a way, because this could be ugly. This could really be ugly. I hope it's not going to be, for like sake of those players, because like I don't wish nothing but the best for every one of these guys. Like, I have no personal like agenda against them. Like, I don't know about like some of the off-field issues with those guys, anything. So I wish them nothing but the best, and I wish CJ nothing but best and health. So guys, figure it out. Let's hope. That's the only thing I can say. Now with CJ Stroud, I already like pointed it out in the beginning. To me, his second year, you know, you can call it slump in terms of numbers, but in terms of how do I value him as a player, he actually, the way he survived it, like super bad play calling, awful offensive line or really bad offensive line, not really great running game because of bad play calling, losing Nico Collins for several weeks, Stephon Diggs for, I don't know, 75% of the season, losing Tank Dell. You know, watching this, like, you see how shaken he was. Like, this was over and over. Like, this was so many like daggers to like his heart in a way, and he still overcome it. He still had almost like 4,300 yards. You know, when we combine with the playoffs. Yes, was the number slightly worse? Yeah, but to me, if you are a guy that shows super upside that he did in year 1, and in abysmal circumstances, that was year 2, you still deliver, I think he's an amazing starter. Yes, I would probably have him as a low end of that tier. You know, as a 9 perhaps, as an 8, I think I can have a debate. But like seeing him outside top 10, I just don't think of him as outside top 10. And you know, like, yeah, he might look not great this year, but I don't think it would be on him. It would be, well, play calling did not improve, and this offensive line is absolute shit show. It can happen, but to me, he did not only survive, he in a way thrived. He had some really great performance. There have been some ugly moments. Like, he is not perfect, but yeah, to me, he just proved himself to be a leader, to be a guy that, like, no matter the circumstances, he's going to pull through. He won several games that they kind of didn't, like, should have won. Yes, it was a lot of was on this defense, but he made enough plays to make it happen. You know, like when you, for example, like compare him to Pat Mahomes last year, like was he necessarily like worse than Patrick? Like it was very similar. Like offense was not humming, offensive lines had some issues, even though it was much better offensive line that the Texans had. They had some issues with playmakers, and they had special defense that like put them in a place to win some close games. And that I feel like was very much the same story for CJ Stroud. I'm not saying he's Pat Mahomes. I'm saying last year, there was not much of a difference in terms of performance. Now, with that hot take, let's take a look at who is there to work for CJ Stroud, which like his offensive line, you can argue that they are working in a way against him. Joke. So we start with Nico Collins. Like, again, 89 at Madden, it's just ridiculous. This dude is a stud. You know, he had absolutely breakout year in 2023, and it was questioned, like, you know, can he sustain that? And he answered, hell yeah, Like, I can do everything. I can win tough catches, I can win on speed, on routes, I can most dudes, I can be great after contact. Like, is he Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase? No. That's like, I have those guys similar to like Myles Garrett is elite, and I still have, for example, Joshine Zelan or Aiden Hutchinson as elite guys. Though like with Aiden, it's much more question of injury rather than like when he performed, like he was really out there. But the thing is, even with elite, there could be kind of bottom tier elite and upper tier elite, which like to me Nico is more of in the bottom tier, but he's still freaking elite. I have like 7, 8 wide receivers in this category. Nico is absolutely there, and he has special connection with CJ Stroud. When player breaks out, he bails him out a lot of the time in a way like he can get open. Love Nico Collins, and I wish there was more respect put on his name. He absolutely deserves that. Now, in terms of wide receiver 2, like on paper, it's Christian Kirk as like the best wide receiver here. The question with him is health. Surprise, surprise. That's why Jaguars were like very willing to let him go for like, I think it was like 6th round pick or something like that. And for what it's worth, it seems like he should be okay. He should be absolutely practicing, and we will see where this goes with Christian Kirk, who could be a very nice slot weapon for this team. Top 10 guy as a slot at his best, healthy, which like could be still now. Yeah, why not? Very nice complementary weapon. With Tank, we already talked. There is nothing to prove there. He's a great player. He could be much more. The injuries, I don't know, like in what shape he's going to come back. Leave it at that. Jaden Higgins, there is hope that he could be 85% of Nico Collins, perhaps 90% of Nico Collins. Very similar like body type with Nico, and despite that, there is enough juice and enough speed with both of these guys that they can complement each other, and there are going to be some very interesting stuff that you can do with Jaden Higgins with his big body frame. Most likely he's just going to be working at the perimeter, like letting Nico Collins win from everywhere, and like him just working one-on-one as your perimeter guy. But I think he can be a power slot, like deep threat. I mean, he has enough speed on some of the routes, he can do it, but most of it, I think he will do the damage on the outside, where like he should get a lot of one-on-one matches, and he is going to out-physical a lot of dudes out there. So with Jaden Higgins, I should probably put decent starter on him. I kind of want to see it with him a little bit more. Like, I was not as super high on him as some other guys, so like really upper echelons of good backup, but definitely guys on my watch to erase very, very soon in the season. Now, it doesn't end there, because they also have John Mechie, who I think for what it's worth had actually like a solid year last year. Managed to stay healthy, obviously recovered from gruesome illness in the past, and like, is he great? No, I think he was drafted in the first round, second, as a wide receiver 4 or 5, because Jalen Noel is here. Absolutely workable guy. Probably his last year here. We will see what kind of the future holds. Jalen Noel, I think he's kind of security insurance if Christian Kirk is banged up, does not work, because they can win from the very similar position, and definitely a future on as a slot for this team, who actually has really nice like deep threat potential. Like, he is very speedy even from the slot, so there is a nuisance in having to like cover this guy. And it doesn't end there. They also have Xavier Hutchinson and Justin Watson and Braxton Berrios. So like, they're kind of 9 deep. With Tank Dell, obviously he's like most likely not going to play till at least mid part of the year. I didn't hear anything that would suggest otherwise. So they might actually go into the season like 7, perhaps even 8 deep. One of the guys probably on punt return. And they want to live a lot in 13 personnel. Though they don't necessarily have to do it all of the time. They drafted Kate Stover last year, who in time should be Dalton Schultz replacement. Year one definitely was not necessarily pretty, especially like with Brevin Jordan going down. The thing is, there is a very similar body type between Dalton Schultz and Kate Stover, so they didn't want to go in 12 personnel with both of these guys. So like, it's not necessarily that they cannot play off each other, but it's not like super beneficial. Like, he doesn't offer you as much of a blocking guy as Brevin Jordan, who is kind of the 12 personnel guy. Though I think even this year there might be much less chance for both of these guys if Dalton Schultz stays healthy, because Jaden Higgins in sort of Juwan Jennings role, if you know from the 49ers, or Puka/Cooper Cup with the Rams, which is where the offensive coordinator comes from here. It might still be a lot of 13 personnel, but with bigger bodied wide receivers out there. So I do expect a lot of work for Dalton Schultz. And we will see what is going to take for Kate Stover to get on the field. I'm not sure if Dalton Schultz has next year. Yeah, he still is on the hook for 14 million next year. But I think you can, how much you can get out. Yeah. So I feel like there is a good chance that if they see enough from Kate, that for next year they will cut Dalton Schultz, save 11.5 million, and kind of roll with Brevin Jordan and Kate Stover as their tight ends, just to save money, because low-key, this team actually spent a lot last year. And, even right now when you see with Christian Kirk, like, there is not necessarily too much cap space for this team, even for future. And you have to count on that Will Anderson is going to get paid in a couple of years, obviously, but they already paid Jalen Petrie, Derek Stingley, those kicks in next year. So I think Dalton Schultz getting cut next off season is actually quite a likely scenario. For right now, he's kind of your average starting tight end that can do a little bit of both. Solid as a receiving threat, solid as a blocker, overall good player. Nothing better than that in my eyes. Like, there, it looked for 1 year that it could be more. I don't think it is. It's just your average good tight end. Nothing bad about Dalton Schultz, but nothing to get you super excited. Now, what could be really exciting is this running back room, where Joe Mixon is really flirting with an amazing starter status for me. He is really good. The question is, can he stay healthy? Because he had some injuries with the Bengals, then he seems to lose a step. That's why Bengals let him go. Texans kind of questionably, to a lot of guys took him on a reasonable deal, and he just absolutely freaking delivered for the Texans. The question is, after another couple of injuries, he got banged up last year. He's still out for this preseason. I'm not sure he is. 16 days ago, there is going to be an evaluation. There is definitely not a clear timeline for him. And there's a huge question whether he is going to be fit for week 1. So, injuries, he is on the verge of being 30. There's a question, can we get Joe Mixon for what he actually got the Texans in years he's been here? Then it's great. If not, if he's unavailable or he actually lost a step, then you turn on the second guy, which is Nick Chubb. And what is Nick Chubb right now? I don't know, man. I have him as an important starter, which is much more of legacy rather than actual reflection of him last year. My take, or why am I keeping him as an important starter, is after another ACL injury, I think it was his second or third in his career. He came back for the Browns that were total mess last year, and he looked bad. But now he's 1.5 years, and from what I heard, from what I would even dare to say I know about Nick Chubb, is this dude, he could hang up his cleats. He could. I think he has money enough to retire. He comes back for 2.5 million, almost nothing. I'm not saying it's nothing. It's obviously a shit ton of money and probably much more than I will ever earn in my life. Whatever. But for NFL standards, for who Nick Chubb was 2 years ago, probably the best running back in the league, it's kind of nothing. So, after that, fuck that. No, you know what I'm saying. And he comes back, and it's like, yeah, he wants to get back. He wants to freaking play. He's going to do everything in his power to get in the best shape possible. And can I rule out that the best shape possible is actually going to look like 80 to 85% of his top self? I can't, because like with him, I don't doubt for a second his mind and his work ethic. So if there is a way for his body to get back in shape, to sort of be Nick Chubb pre-injury, after 1.5 or almost 2.5 years of recovery, I trust that Nick Chubb is going to find it. So to me, he could be decent starter to like even good backup, and it's like really looks like last year with the Browns, it looked bad. It wasn't good. You can say kind of the same thing for some games with CMC with the 49ers. So it's a huge question mark with both of these guys that I'm like not certain how I'm going to rank them. This kind of like I put last earned grade in a way, which like with Nick Chubb it would probably be elite still, from like really earned, but at the same time like I have to kind of like put it down because that's 2 years ago and pre this second gruesome injury. But I don't know, like this backfield could be freaking special, and it also could be meh. They have, for what it's worth, Dameon Pierce, like who is solid. I think number 2 running back for a lot of rooms. He would be, fighting for that spot. He could actually get an opportunity here, and like there is something in Dameon Pierce. So I don't necessarily like rule out this room of like potential to be not tragic with Dameon Pierce, but obviously in terms of like the huge upside that you could have from this room, it's Nick Chubb or Joe Mixon. We will see. I wish them nothing but the best, but there is a lot of questions. Overall, this offense, like there is a world in which your best running back is Dameon Pierce, your best offensive lineman is Titus Howard, and like what are you going to do with that? Like, can you overcome that with schemes? Can you throw ball 50 times a game and like somehow work it that the pass protection holds? I don't know. There is also a world in which, with some creative scheming, this offensive line does not necessarily have to be an issue. You have 2 stud running backs and you have several great weapons next to amazing young quarterback. That's also potential. So what it's going to be, I don't know. I obviously root for the second part because like nothing against Texans and like I want to see good football. Can I rule out the first? Unfortunately, I can't. Interesting, very interesting how this is going to like settle down when everything shapes up. We will see. A lot of injuries, a lot of low floor for this team, but you have CJ Stroud, you have Nico Collins. Like in a way, do you need more? We will see. Now for the defense, that is definitely a reason why this is the team that I like unveil as last team, which means I'm predicting them to win division. It's this defense, man. It's freaking special defense. It starts from the edge. Will Anderson and Danny Hunter, one of the top 3 edge duos in the league. Immense pass rushers, immense run defenders. Like, I don't think neither of them is elite. Though I would say both of them are really knocking on the door. With Daniel Hunter, I'm not certain that he's going to open it at his age, but I think he can definitely stay as an amazing guy for at least 2-3 years. And with Will Anderson, I don't think this is going to be the year where like I will at least put him at the low tier of those elite guys, because like his end of last year, it really seems like he is starting to absolutely freaking get there. With these 2 guys, the special thing you have is like they are both 3 down players. They have motor, they have stamina, they are both special run defenders and great pass rushers. So, you don't worry about the depth from the edge as much as other teams. The good thing is that you actually have some, so you can even keep these guys, I would say, even more fresh for when it really matters. So I would say, let's up their workload as the game progresses, as the season progresses. Because with Demeco, I think he's damn solid. 60 to 70% of what those two guys are. A really guy that has something to offer as a pass rusher, does not suck as a run defender. You cannot say that about Darrell Taylor. Like, he is pass rusher through and through. But like, for what it's worth, he actually was very, very effective for the Bears, like as the number 3 guy in some situations on pass rush down. So that's a nice rotation for your edge. And Demeco also can like little bit slide inside. They sometimes use his like edge a little bit more as an end or like even quasi defensive tackle in their system. So good depth, definitely good depth, and for a room that does not necessarily need it with their stamina. So you are absolutely like stoked about that. In terms of interior, this is much more of let's survive room, with like Sheldon Rankins being potentially the guy that could be something more than that, because like he is kind of up and down. Can he have an up season back with the Texans? I don't know. Like last year it was really bad. There's a lot of reports that he was playing injured. So again, some of the things that are not necessarily public. So perhaps I overreacted with like lowering him, but did I? I'm not sure. Like, let's show me. I can put rankings back if there is 4 or 5 games where Sheldon Rankins looks like a really good player. I think there is a potential. Next to him, Tim Settle, solid guy. Run defense is not necessarily great. That's where like run defense overall for this team is like definitely the worst part of pass defense, run defense. Pass defense is special, run defense is kind of okay, because like your interior is definitely nothing special there. There is also Mario Edwards there, Florenzo Tukasi, guys to rotate in. I think this is going to be much more of a rotation, guys. Try to really figure out who is the best right now, who can deliver you something on special downs. Perhaps Tim Settle is much more of a pass rusher, etc., etc. Definitely something that Demeco Ryans will need to work out. Might be interesting to see if Christian Wilkins. Dare I say there could be something. We don't know like his health situation and like what it would be. But if you are looking for a contender and you are still unsigned like week 8 and you are healthy, can they sign him for half a season and really cook with gas, like with him from interior? Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I will just leave it out there. Now, for the linebackers, this is to me kind of your copy print, solid enough linebacker room that you absolutely can live with. Nothing special to write home about. With Aziz Al-Shaair, you have a guy that Demeco just hand choose, brought him from the 49ers when he coached him. And this is a guy that like he will have his lapses, even in terms of like actually like dirtiness, but also like from missing gaps, missing assignments. But he is just like wired in a way, throw your body every time, everywhere there is a play, just play hard, like try to fucking kill out there, just use your fucking effing body. And Demeco Ryans can absolutely work with that. Like, does this leave you open to some big plays through his space? Yes, but at the same time he just infuses the energy in defense, and Demeco loves him, and he is very, very good player. Next to him, you have Henry Toto, there is Derek Barnett. Like LB2 that you can live with. Nothing to write home about, but with Henry Toto, like the run defense grade is a little bit overblown, because like he is good tackler, but he kind of reads the game so that like he is certain with the angle, but to a point that like, because he needs to be certain about his angle, like needs to, he's kind of late towards those plays and allows a couple of extra yards. It's like you see the result, like when you are solving mathematical equation, like you kind of see the result, and there is then one colleague of yours like, let's add these two variables together before we say the results. And I'm like, no, I see the result. Okay, but let's do this another step. That's like how Henrito approaches his coverage, which is not necessarily bad, because like then you are certain of it. But In his case, it takes a couple of yards more than it's necessary, and in the case of my mathematical equation, it takes a little bit of time and my frustration. So you can live with this. We will see if Derek Barnett, Christian Harris, if he could step into this. We'll see. There's also Nick Niemann coming from, I think, Chargers. Interesting, a guy after he survived 4 years in the NFL, got to learn. We will see if there is something there. Definitely, there is potential to outplay Henry, though with his cool name, I would hate that. I love commentators to say Henry Total. Now, for the secondary, which is, with Will Anderson and Daniel Hunter and Nico Collins and CJ Stroud, this is it for this team. This is special freaking unit, and I might be even too low on them. And a great news, guys. If you don't follow, definitely follow that franchise guy, special guy, definitely a guy that a little bit model, and definitely a guy that inspired me to do this. And I'm super happy that he unfortunately this year has his curse when every time he unravels his some team is Russian Slayton injury, CJ Gardner-Johnson's injury, it's unlucky in that. And just half an hour before I was let's do the Texans episode. I'm doing this probably 2 weeks ahead of when you guys are going to see it. It was announced that CJ Gardner-Johnson, from what it looked like, season-ending injury, it's just something minor, and he could actually be out there for game 1, which is freaking great news. Great news for CJ, great news for this defense, and I'm glad that I kind of worked as a counter jinx to TFG. Shout out to you, special dude. If you are not following him, that franchise guy, special guy. Now, let's talk about the secondary, because suddenly, with CJ Gardner-Johnson back in the picture, it's really, really nice. Now, let's start with Derek Stingley. What is there to say? He ascended, definitely for the first time had a better year than South, which is they will be linked. Oh, okay. So guys, was checking on some information with CJ and with Ronald. So Derek and Sauce will always be linked because they were drafted back to back. Derek being ahead of Sauce, and for first 2 years it was Jets won this. Right now, some would say Derek is better player. I would still probably give a little edge to Sauce, just because last year he wasn't at his best. It doesn't mean that the first 2 years I just scratch, but doesn't matter. Both of these guys are easily top 5. To me, probably top 3. And Pat Sutton as 1 right now. But Derek Stingley is a guy that you can leave on an island, and the great thing is it's not only you don't want to throw at him because your guy is not going to get it, but if you screw up, and even if you don't screw up, there is a good chance that Derek Stingley is going to get it. So passer rating 39.6 last year when targeted, which I think around 40 is if you throw a ball into the ground, so that's not good. And 7 interception. Yeah, Derek Stingley is freaking awesome, and he was the second best corner out there last year, behind only Pat Surtain, and that guy was defensive player of the year. Derek Stingley was fucking great, and because you have Derek Stingley, did also it works super nicely with your pass rush, because there is a guy that he's not going to lose, even if it takes you a little bit of time to get into quarterback. And it's not necessarily with Daniel and Will Anderson, they need too much time. But if they have half seconds more, they are both such a great stamina guys that they will get there. It doesn't work first attempt, they will get there on second or third. And with Derek Stingley on one side of the field, you will get those chances. And that's not it. They brought Cameron Lassiter last year in the draft, and he was absolutely what you want from a number 2 guy next to Derek Stingley. Does he have some lack of speed? Yes, but you can definitely shift your free safety back to him to kind of limit the potential of him getting burned. And with that, he's got great ball skills, He is strong enough to be in pressure, and with the luxury that you can kind of trust Derek Stingley to rotate your safety help towards Kamala Lassiter's side. It's like, well, this 1.25 of a Kamala Lassiter is actually almost another shutdown corner, because great ball skills, great man pressure, and like what he lacks in speed, there is a free safety to kind of figure this one out. So really, really nice compliment to Derek Stingley. I think in other system, when you have to be more of an island, if you are Kamala Lassiter, that would be more of a problem, but here it just totally works. Next to those guys, Jalen Petrie playing from nickel, playing this big slot as a more of a safety role rather than as a corner. Absolutely works. They re-signed him to like 3 years. What it was like, there was a really nice number that I think is absolutely fair. Jalen, yeah, it's 3 years, 39 million. So they absolutely know this is a position of value right now in the NFL. Like, a lot of people want their safety to play more of a nickel / slot corner, because of more of an impact that this guy can have because of their belt on the run. And Jalen Petrie is one of the prototypical guys that absolutely took advantage of it and showed why they are freaking impactful. So great for Jalen. Now for the safeties, okay, let's address Ronald Darby. I still have him here. I thought they brought him as kind of insurance. Unfortunately, he retired, so Ronald Darby is not necessarily here, and that's where I'm not sure like how certain they were about before the draft. Let me check when he retired. June. So yeah, so he retired after the draft. So perhaps they were not aware of this decision. So with the pick of Jalen Smith, they thought they would have an insurance on Ronald Darby, who for better or worse is a nice corner forward to me as an outside guy. So perhaps that explains this pick a little bit more, but also like this was nothing more than a 1 year band-aid as a backup. So should that swing the decision? Not necessarily. Right now, that leaves your perimeter guys really, they cannot get injured. If Stingley gets injured, immediately Kamala Lassiter has more problems, because you cannot slide safety help towards him. And as a backup outside corner, right now it's Miles Bryant, Arthur Mollett. Yeah, Kamala Lassiter and Dennis Stingley needs to stay freaking healthy. Now, towards safeties, having CJ Gardner-Johnson out there is freaking amazing for this team. It's a great news. I'm super I'm still excited. I just read it just before starting to shooting this, literally a couple of minutes before. So super great news for CJ and for this team. And he is a guy that is going to be where the ball is. He is going to see hit kind of like in a similar mode to Aziz Al-Shair, like something between Aziz and Jalen Petrie. In very, very similar mode. They could have even some fun. I might actually look and do some tactical episode, which would be weird because that's not necessarily my biggest forte. But about dime packages for the Titans, I will let you guys know. But CJ Gardner-Johnson and Jalen Petrie are going to be around the line of scrimmage and are going to cause havoc. Then who is going to be number 2 safety with CJ Gardner? It could be Jimmy Ward. The question is injuries, and there are some situations out of the field. I think when he plays, he was damn good. Question is, can he? Injuries, age, and outside of the field stuff. If not, it's Kalen Bullock's time, who, as a free safety last year, let's say you want that guy to be your security, and he left too many doors open. Also, when let's say there was a thief coming and he hit the right door, he really hit them. He had a couple of interceptions, actually played really solid in the run defense, but in terms of coverage, it was a problem. So we will see where this lands. If it's Kalen Bullock or it's Jimmy Ward, it probably will end up being Kalen Bullock, and I trust him in second year that he's going to develop, because I think there was some plays or some improvements from his college tape towards the pros. At the same time, there were some really, really ugly moments. And the last guy here is Jalen Smith, who, like I said, not a huge fan. To me, he's much more of a backup to Jalen Petrie, which when you have CJ Gardner-Johnson and like if Jimmy Ward was there, like perhaps they are more replaceable in that situation. So we'll see. Christian Harris already talked about him as a potential backup to this linebacker room. But overall, when you look at this defense, and especially with the news about CJ Gardner-Johnson, actually everything should be okay by the start of the season. You have special secondary, you have special pass rush, and you have run defense that's going to play hard and is led by Demeco Ryans, who is a special run defense designer. So even though he kind of lacks, say, interior talent to it, it's going to be damn hard to run on this team, because those guys will play freaking hard on you. Like it's going to hurt playing them. And the good thing is there is still a ton of potential. Kalen Bullock, Jalen Petrie, Cameron Lassiter, Will Anderson, Henry Toto perhaps. Sheldon Rankings could come back to his good to even important starter stealth from not that long ago. So there is even potential for this to really be better. And already it's a top 5 defense in my eyes. It's a really special unit, and especially with Demeco Ryans as a coach. Come on, guys. If there is something, and you will see this in my AI 8-second video that I use on Twitter. If you're not following me on Twitter, GMaty-NFL, you better start. This is championship level defense, and if offense can just be good, and this could be a team that looks similar to what the Chiefs were last year. Defense is going to put you in advantageous situations or in situations that you can win the game, and you have one of the best playmakers with one of the best wide receivers out there. So can you do it? I think they can, though it's not going to be the nicest season for them. I actually predict them to finish 9-8 and just scrape the division. I'm not certain that they will dominate it, which, I just have too many questions, some of them health related and most of them offensive line related, for them to just really say they will have firm grip on this. But at the same time, I still predict them to win. Now, my storylines. Well, no Bobby, more hobby. What am I relating? It's obviously about leaving Bobby Slovic, who went to the Dolphins, I believe. So from a guy that was, prior to last year, touted as potential head coach candidate after this year, towards a guy that was run out of town from a defensive-minded head coach. And Loki is hated at Houston right now because a lot of people think, and I understand them, that he did a really horrible job last year adjusting to the personnel and what they did well. So Bobby, he's going to try to restart his career in Miami. Now it's Nick Caley coming from the Rams, which is when you need to pick a great offensive mind, why not pick someone from Sean McVay tree? Yeah, that's nice. But the question with more hobby is definitely out there, because question on this offensive line are massive. In terms of health for some key wide receivers, still there. And the start of the season is damn hard. First game at Rams. Wow, what the first game for Nick Caley to call this offense. To try make CJ Stroud look good and survive behind his offensive line against Jared Verse. Good luck. Good freaking luck. And then second game, Tampa at home. You also have Ravens on the road, Jets on the road. That's not going to be an easy start, and I actually think that the Texans will look shaky to start, and 2-3. Now, for the second part of the year, the schedule does not get necessarily easier, as expected. You won division, it's not going to be easy. You have Bills there, you have Seahawks on the road, you have Broncos, you have 49ers at home. To me, here is going to be about weapons on point. I think by the time of this, you will kind of realize that this offensive line is not going to cut it, and the hope is you can make it for especially Nico Collins to just be open so quickly or so long that, CJ Stroud scrambling for help and trying to get him, that's going to be enough to push them over the edge in some of those games. But definitely, against defenses, against a guy like Nick Bosa, against Pat Surtain, it's going to be hard matchup. So I'm not necessarily thinking that this is going to be time of the year that you think about the Texans and you imagine this powerhouse. And I don't think you will actually get there prior to the end of the year, because to me, that's where we will arrive to the championship level defense. And I think they will be the main carry of this team, besides CJ Stroud and Nico Collins. There's obviously some other hopes, but I don't necessarily expect that to happen. But here, they will they will announce that they will drag this team towards winning this division once again with 4-2 record and last 6 games. There's going to be Chargers and Chiefs on the road, which are 2 very, very hard games, and I think they will win one of them and go potentially even to have division won by the last game against the Colts and perhaps sit their starter. So either or they will need to beat Colts at home to clinch this division. Either or, I trust them to do so. It's going to be close. Both Colts and Jaguars on their asses, but I actually predict that simply with the quality of this defense and the best quarterback in this division, they will be able to put through, and the best head coach. They have a lot of things going in that direction, and best corner, and best wide receiver. Though BTJ by the end of the year, well, there could be a conversation there. Overall, with Texans, I just cannot move past how atrocious this offensive line is. As someone who is supporting Seahawks for 10, 11 years right now, looking at what our offensive line has been for the last couple of years, it's just so hard to overcome that, even with special talents elsewhere. And, Nick Kelly has his job cut out for him. There is potential for this team to really be excellent. If they can have below average offensive line, which would be massive improvement, weapons healthy, running backs healthy, and this defense, I actually have almost no doubt that it's going to be what I believe it's going to be, one of the best defenses in football, barring gruesome injuries, then this team could be a juggernaut. But that's a tall order and counting on things that I don't necessarily trust that are going to happen. So overall, I still have a lot to like, and perhaps 2026 they, with some progress on the offensive line or some investment there, with free agency, I could feel better about them. But as of right now, winning the division, perhaps winning one game at home because of this defense and CJ Stroud. But again, I do expect CJ Stroud to look kind of like last year, which to me is a really great quarterbacking behind shit show of an offensive line. And if it's any more than that, huge credit to him. With that, I'm saying goodbye from the Houston, where I'm not, but to every Texans fan. If you are still here, thank you very much for watching. If not, still thank you for watching up to the point where you leave me, and have a nice day. And we will see you with the last division very, very soon. Bye bye.